and I sparring with him. He has a great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu. We all know that. He hit like.
So were you sparring with him last week when he was here?
No, not last week. Man, I can't sparring with him anymore because he hits hard.
It's too hard.
Yeah, he dropped me 2 times from the body shot.
Wow.
Yeah, thank God my head is fine.
Yeah.
And then every time I finished sparring with him, I was happy and thank God.
It's over.
It's over, yeah.
And Ilia Topuria is one of the absolute best fighters in the world. The dude is just phenomenal. One of the things that's phenomenal about him is his technique. He just sees that hand coming towards him and he's ducking. It's all like slight slips away, and it's slight motions, which is all you need to get away from a punch, right?
Coach wasn't boxing coach, but he learned how to hold the pads. And then, but they was ripping the combinations thousands of times. And that's how Ilia came like boxing killer. Like now he's showing his boxing skill. And he's still doing it now. Of course, now they changed the coach. Like now they have a real boxing coach. But like
Merab Dvalishvili admitted to being dropped twice in sparring by Ilia Topuria, Joe Rogan weighed in to emphasize just how serious that statement truly is. Coming from someone like Merab, who has built his career on relentless pressure, toughness, and an iron chin, the admission was far more than just a humorous remark. It served as real evidence of how powerful and precise Topuria is becoming. And according to Rogan, this is only the beginning.
Is as close to perfect as we maybe have experienced before. His style is so well-rounded and so buttoned up and doesn't have a lot of holes to it. And then when you pair that with a lot of his physical attributes, like he has a good build for MMA. He's like not the shortest guy, but not the tallest, lankiest guy. He looks obviously strong.
The Ariel Helwani Show, Merab recalled the sparring sessions in a mix of humor and disbelief, explaining how he's made the decision to stop training with Topuria altogether. The way he described it, Topuria wasn't just landing shots, he was cracking him to the body so hard that Merab went down twice, and Merab doesn't go down. Not in fights, not in gym wars, and definitely not often from body shots. So when he said, "Thank God that my head is fine, and thank God it's over," after every round, it wasn't just about pain, it was about survival. To Merab, that's just how sharp and dangerous
a lot of them as well. Yep. But with Ilia's short arms,
Yep.
all sort of like hook strength.
Yep.
He's not dropping people with a 1-2.
No,
it's all.
He builds up his combinations.
Yes, yeah, he builds up his combinations. Their overhands,
Yep.
their lead hooks, their uppercuts to the body, to the head. When you do things like that, if you get pummeling early in the fight, over-unders, and Makhachev's on him up against the cage,
Yep.
even if he's failed a takedown,
Yeah.
if he has to drive an underhook, that gasses out those arms.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Joe
whereas a
Rogan,
guy like...
who's followed both fighters for years, has made a career out of noticing details like this. In previous episodes of his podcast, Rogan has spoken with respect about Merab's legendary engine and grind. He's praised the way Merab can keep up a pace that most fighters can't survive, wearing them down with takedowns and pressure. So, when Rogan hears that a guy like that can't hang with Topuria in sparring, the implications are massive. To him, this is the kind of thing that separates champions from legends. Ilia is not just skilled, he's evolved into someone whose presence in the gym is felt like a storm coming.
Ilia Topuria said that he believes that he will knock out or submit Charles Oliveira in the first round.
When I knock him out in the first round or submit him in the first round.
Ilia Topuria also said that if he wins the title, that he's willing to move up to fight Islam Makhachev at 170. If Makhachev does win the 170 title.
We'll see how he does in the welterweight division. If he wins the title, I win the title in the lightweight division. Maybe I move up or he comes down.
MMA news for today in a minute. Ilia Topuria says that he believes that he will knock out or submit Charles VAR in the first round. When I knock him out in the first round or submit him in the first round, also said that if he wins the title that he's willing to move up to fight Islam Makhachev at 170. If Makhachev does win the 170 title, we'll see how he does in the welterweight division. If he wins the title, I win the title in the lightweight division. Maybe I move up or he
ranked pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and to be honest with you, I don't really love it. And the only reason why I don't really love it is because I think Ilia Topuria has to be either number 1 or number 2 pound-for-pound in the world. Merab should not surpass him yet. Don't even get me started on John Jones at 3. I think we all know our problems with that, but that's a topic for another time. Let's just talk about Islam, Merab, Topuria, and Jokic. Let's not be so quick to forget that Ilia Topuria had the greatest back-to-back wins in the history of the UFC. second round knockout over Alexander Volkanovski, and a third round knockout over Max Holloway. Back-to-back
The respect between the two Georgians is still strong. Their history together goes back years when both were climbing through the ranks, pushing each other through rounds in private training sessions long before UFC titles were even a dream. But the dynamic has changed. Now Topuria is the lightweight champion and rising faster than almost anyone in recent history. After UFC 317, the entire landscape of the lightweight division felt like it tilted. It's not just that Ilia beat Charles Oliveira, it's how he did it in the first round without any hesitation. Dropping Olivia and walking away like it was a routine day in the office. That kind of cold execution got everyone's attention, especially
something
like
about Merab that surprised me, that maybe you see him in the mat and he's not the most special guy, the most skillful guy. I don't know what happens to him when he gets inside that octagon. That man is a fucking machine.
Daniel Cormier went to visit him right after he won the title. Daniel Cormier went to his house on Sunday.
Yeah.
Merab wasn't home. He was out running.
Yeah.
I am actually at Merab Dvalishvili.
In the same breath.
Dvalishvili is now the second-ranked pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and to be honest with you, I don't really love it. And the only reason why I don't really love it is because I think Ilia has to be either number 1 or number 2 in the world. Merab should not surpass him yet. Don't even get me started on John Jones at 3. I think we all know our problems with that, but that's a topic for another time. Let's just talk about Islam Merab Topuria and Dryas. Let's not be so quick to forget that Eloti had the greatest back-to-back wins in the history of the UFC. Second-round knockout over Alexander Volkanovski and a third-round knockout over Max Holloway. Back-to-back wins.
I just announced some fights yesterday, and that wasn't one of them.
Yeah, there's a couple you didn't announce that people were kind of hyped for. There's some rumors. There was rumors that it was going to be Hamzat DDP. Turns out that doesn't look like it's true. There's now rumors it's going to be Ilia Topuria versus Islam. Is that
Well, we all know that fight's happening. The Duplessis versus Hamzat fight. It's happening. It's just not happening. That fight's done. Just not happening now.
And Ilia Islam?
What's that?
Ilia versus
Ali's reaction to the Topuria versus Olivia performance was full of amazement. In a live video on his YouTube channel, the former bantamweight champion was brutally honest. He admitted he was glad their potential super fight never materialized, saying it with a grin, but also with full seriousness. O'Malley is a striker with great vision, but even he could see the speed and ferocity that Topuria is bringing into the cage, and it made him step back. He even compared Ilia to John Jones, saying he's right up there in terms of star power and performance under pressure. That's not a compliment Sean gives lightly, especially considering how carefully he curates his legacy in matchups. But watching Topuria tear through Olivia the way he previously dismantled Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway has made everyone reevaluate just how far.
It's good when you win. You just throw the field. All hard work done, and you just wanna enjoy. You know, it's good. Like people, you celebrate with your friends, eat, but most important is you. Okay, now today no more fight. I don't have to think about fight. Just relax, right?
Ilia Topuria brings more than just...
In the same breath, O'Malley touched on how wild it is that Ilia is now being discussed in the same breath as Islam Makhachev. For a long time, Islam has seemed like the untouchable future of the UFC. Dominant wrestling, elite coaching, and a calm composure that suffocates opponents before the cage door even closes. But Ilia's rise is changing the conversation. The idea of a Topuria versus Makhachev matchup has started to float around, especially after UFC 317. It's a clash of styles that would electrify the lightweight division. Power striking versus calculated control. Georgian grit versus Dagestani discipline. But Ali also pointed out that Makhachev seems more focused on testing himself at welterweight next, specifically against Jack Della Maddalena. That means the super what might have to wait. And in the meantime, Topuria's stock just keeps rising.
And you think heavy hands, great grappler. What I like watching with him is his foot placement. The way he distributes his balance through his feet is unbelievable. So he's never too far forward. He's never too far back. He stands with a wide stance, even though he's quite short. And he's always here. And when he punches like a boxer. The body shots he throws are great, but something else that is just a little nuance that he does is when he comes from this, doing these boxer-style punches.
Take that for us now. Who is main eventing? Well, I just announced some fights yesterday, and that wasn't one of them. Yeah, there's a couple you didn't announce, but people were kind of high before. There's some rumors. There was rumors that it was going to be Hamzat DDP. Turns out that doesn't look like it's true. There's now rumors it's going to be Ilia Topuria versus Islam. Is that a well? We all know that fight's happening. The DIY versus Hamza fight, it's happening. It's just not happening in International Fight Week. That fight's done. Just not happen in that one. And Ilia Islam, what's that? Ilia versus Islam.
Súper, súper bien creciendo, ¿viste? Aquí el niño está aquí, la niña me ha contestado por él. ¿Tú cómo estás? Tienes dos niñas, yo uno, y un niño, yo otro. Ah, mi niña cumple un año ahora. Bueno, sí, estaba mirando grande, hermano.
For Merab, the friendship remains, but the training doors are closed. It's not a matter of ego or rivalry. It's about self-preservation. He laughed as he told Helwani that Topuria sees everything and hits too hard, and that he felt relieved every time a sparring session with Ilia ended without injury. That kind of statement coming from a guy who has walked through fire and fights says more than statistics ever could. Merab has gone to war with knockout artists like Marlon Moraes and Sean Ali and still kept moving
Last one for
forward.
me. Earlier today, Islam Makhachev did an interview and said he's not ruling out coming back down to 155. But if it was up to you, would you rather fight him at 170 to get that third title, or would you be willing to fight him at 55 because that's the division that people say he might be the best at?
It would be much better for me to fight him in 170. And I will beat him and get the third title. That will be the best scenario for me.
Even outside the gym, Ilia Topuria's aura is evolving. He's no longer just the dangerous Georgian featherweight with fast hands, but a double champ-level presence who's made it clear through dominant performances and stories like Merab Dvalishvili admission that he's not just here to win fights, but to define an era. Fighters who used to fear being called out now breathe easier when Ilia targets someone else. And fans who once wondered if he could hang with the elite are now asking if anyone can hang with him. What makes the story of Ilia and Merab sparring so powerful is its humanity to friends who trained side by side, pushed each other, laughed after rounds, and shared respect while rising together.
Makes you want to move up to 155
because I really believe that I can beat the current champion, Islam. You can't be a world champion by chance. You know, you have to do things great.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah.
But I like the competition, and I don't like to be a bully and fight with people that I know 100% that I'm gonna whoop his ass. You know, I like to fight with.
But now one of them has reached a level that even close friends don't want to stand across from, not even for training. That's the kind of quiet signal that tells you the hype is real. You can measure knockouts and title belts all day, but when fighters who know you best start stepping back, that's when you know you've become something more than just a contender. Fighters who know Ilia Topuria best, like Merab Dvalishvili, are saying in public what most already suspected behind the scenes. He's different. He's not just winning fights. He's altering the psychology around his name. It's no longer about whether someone can beat him. It's about whether they even want to be near him. And as Joe Rogan watched Topuria dismantle Charles Oliveira at UFC 3, he didn't hold back from naming the only challenge that now makes any sense to him: Islam Makhachev. During the broadcast, Joe Rogan made his stance crystal clear. There's only one fight that truly matters. I think Islam is the fight, he said, dismissing all other matchups as filler, entertaining, maybe even fun, but ultimately not what the sport needs. In Rogan's eyes, if he were the matchmaker, he'd be calling Islam Makhachev immediately, not entertaining the UFC's rumored plan to move Makhachev up to welterweight for a bout against Jack Della Maddalena. That fight might bring fireworks, but it doesn't carry the legacy-defining weight of what Rogan is calling for.
I'm a big fan of Topuria. I love this guy's fighting style. I love his hands. You know, I don't care who this guy fights. You know, I think he always has a puncher's chance. He's a dangerous man. Dangerous man. So, I'm not surprised.
This isn't just a preference from Rogan, it's a belief grounded in the UFC's history. The sport thrives on era-defining matchups. Anderson Silva versus GSP, Jones versus Cormier, and even Khabib versus Ferguson, which never materialized but hovered over the division for years. When someone like Ilia Topuria storms into the spotlight, dismantling legends like Oliveira with chilling ease, you don't take the slow road, you make the fight that answers the biggest question. That's what Rogan is really saying. For him, Islam Makhachev isn't just the next logical step. He's the only opponent who can truly test whether Ilia is everything he seems to be.
Essentially supposed to look like. Make the calls, go out there, deliver on the calls. Then, all of a sudden, he vacates the title. I mean, how do you feel? Because you said earlier, like, you were looking at him going, there's holes here.
I think it's good for the sport, to be honest with you. I mean, him and Islam, people really want to see that. Everybody has their own style, and it seems like his style is just doing what he did. Honestly, I believe Islam is just a little too much for him.
But UFC politics are rarely that straightforward. Even though Topuria hinted he's willing to chase Islam up to 170 pounds, he also revealed that UFC officials had privately asked him not to mention it, a quiet but telling move. It suggests that Despite how perfect the matchup looks on paper, the UFC may have other plans in motion for both men, shaped by timelines, event cards, broadcast deals, and possibly more calculated, safer paths. Meanwhile, UFC CEO Dana White wasn't too happy when Paddy Pimblett unexpectedly entered the octagon for a stare-down with Topuria after UFC 317. Reports say the moment was unscripted and didn't align with the post-fight narrative the UFC wanted to promote. White's visible frustration shows that even during the promotion's biggest moments, behind the scenes, tension still shapes who fights whom and when.
For the acclimatization, for the sound I will use it with the bike. So without the bike, it feels like a spa. So today, it's all sound sessions without the bike, so it feels like a spa session. The reality is that I belong to this weight division. My muscle is on point, the power is on point, everything is
That didn't stop the attention from shifting to Pimblett, though. A rivalry that started with trash talk and a few backstage shivs now has enough momentum to headline a card all by itself, and not just any card. Michael Bisping on his YouTube channel said he believes Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett will headline Madison Square Garden. He called it 99% guaranteed. That number might not be scientific, but Bisping isn't known for careless exaggeration.
Take his lights out. His lights out. Yeah, because he walked forward. This is all I need. Like the time that takes me always to knock out my opponents is the time that takes me to close the distance, because they run away. They run, they move to side, and once I close the distance and I go with my combinations, I knock them out. With Charles, I'm not gonna need to close the distance because he walks forward.
He's seen how the UFC operates and understands that storylines sell tickets. But he also knows exactly what Ilia Topuria brings to the table. In that same video, Michael Bisping openly admitted how tough it would be for Paddy Pimblett to survive Ilia's striking or control him on the ground. He's not counting Paddy out, he's just acknowledging how razor-sharp Topuria looks right now, and fans feel it too. This matchup has evolved beyond just skill versus skill. It's about unfinished business, lingering tension, and a stylistic clash so volatile it's unlikely to go to the judges.